Good evening. My name is Wale Adebanwi. I'm the director of the Center for Africana Studies. Tonight, we are delighted to bring to you a Spike Lee joint. The indomitable Spike Lee, a pioneering filmmaker, as we celebrate the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Yes. The Center for Africana Studies warmly welcomes you to the annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Award and Lecture in Social Justice. We extend our sincere gratitude to Penn President Dr. J. Larry Jameson and Dr. Sarah Bannett-Weissner, the Dean of Annenberg School of Communication, for their generous support. Inaugurated in 2002, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Lecture and Award in Social Justice is part of the university's annual celebration of the life and legacy of Dr. King. The lecture brings to campus national and international scholars and public figures who have committed themselves to social justice. We are honored to share in this celebration. Social justice, as Dr. King understood it, requires more than good intentions. It demands clarity, sacrifice, and a willingness to speak uncomfortable truths in public. It requires us not only to dream of a just world, but to act in bringing about a just order. Notable participants in past King lectures and awards include Angela Davis, Jesse Jackson, Cornel Wells, Randall Robinson, the Afro-Colombian civil rights leader, Carlos Rosero, Nicole Hannah-Jones, Danny Glover, the late Julian Bond, Charles Blow, Joy Reid, the Black Lives Matter movement founders Opal Tometi and Patrice Kulos, and our very own Dorothy Roberts, among others. Now I will introduce the Dean of the Annenberg School of Communication. Before introducing our distinguished guests, I would like to introduce Dean Sarah Bannett-Weissner. The Dean of she is the Walter H. Annenberg Dean of the Annenberg School for Communications and the Laurent Ballant Professor of Communication at the University of Pennsylvania. A leading scholar of media, culture, and power, she has authored or edited 8 books, including the most recent, Believability, Sexual Violence, Media, and the Politics of Doubt. She will offer welcoming remarks to open the event. Please join me in welcoming the Dean of the Annenberg School.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. I'm very, very happy to be opening this year's event, the 25th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Lecture and Award, which you'll be hearing more about in a bit. As was just announced, I'm the Dean of the Annenberg School for Communication, and it is an absolute honor to continue our long and collaborative partnership with the Center for Africana Studies. We are now at 24 years and counting, and it has been, this symposium has been a shared endeavor of ours for many, many years now, and our partnership remains strong, valuable, deeply meaningful, and it seems ever more urgent in the current moment. I'm really, really proud of the partnership between the Center and the Annenberg School, and of this award in particular. It is more important than ever for universities to cherish the interdisciplinary nature of higher education, and especially to celebrate the intersections between Africana studies, communication, social justice, and anti-racist practice. At the Annenberg School, we commit to this interdisciplinarity and to social justice through an ethic of care and compassion. And I actually, as Dean, I actually reread Martin Luther King Jr.'s Strength to Love quite often, because it continues to offer such a powerful model for leadership, a reminder of love's transformative force in moments of profound social and political challenge. At this moment in U.S. history, it feels, again, especially urgent to gather in community and honor Dr. King's enduring legacy. I now want to introduce the president of the University of Pennsylvania, Larry Jamieson. Dr. Jamieson previously served as executive vice president of the university for the health system and the dean of the Raymond and Ruth Perelman School of Medicine from 2011 to 2023. Throughout his leadership at Penn, President Jamieson has been a consistent champion for equality and equity. He listens with a compassionate ear. He is committed to creating spaces and resources that support the well-being of students, staff, and faculty. Dr. Jamieson continues to lead with an unwavering commitment to open expression, community building, and the equitable pursuit of knowledge for the public good. As president, he has prioritized creating an environment where diverse perspectives are welcomed and where respectful dialogue strengthens the fabric of the university community. His leadership has fostered initiatives that bring people together across disciplines and backgrounds, and he's ensured that Penn's academic and civic endeavors remain inclusive, collaborative, and outward-looking. Through efforts that champion transparency, mutual respect, and shared purpose, Dr. Jamieson reinforces the belief that knowledge is most powerful when it is accessible, when it is responsibly applied, and when it is to benefit society as a whole and for the public good. I am personally very grateful to President Jamieson for his support of my work and the support of the school and the support of events like this one. So please join me in welcoming President Larry Jamieson.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out. Dean Benet Weiser, I really appreciate your leadership of this service award that we do every year, and this is the 25th time, and thank you for so effectively leading the best school of communication in the world. We certainly need trusted source of information and effective communication, and you and your colleagues do it so well. So I'm really pleased that so many of our Commonwealth representatives and senators, members of the City Council, some of our trustees could join us this evening. So if you don't mind, if all of you I just mentioned just stand up and be recognized, I would appreciate it. It's not a shy group. We really appreciate everything that you do on behalf of the City of Philadelphia and the Commonwealth. So each year, Penn takes out time to celebrate Martin Luther King. Yesterday, we had a service award day that many of our students, faculty, and staff participated in, and certainly this event is one of the highlights of the week and the month. So I'm going to ask you all to just take a moment, and I want you to visualize a time when you have an image of Dr. King. Just close your eyes, if you will, and think about an image that comes to mind. And I can predict what some of you were thinking about. Maybe it was the '63 March on Washington. Maybe it was the march from Selma to Montgomery. Maybe it was a time when he was in the White House meeting with President Kennedy or Lyndon Johnson. Maybe it was when he was signing the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And certainly, there are the iconic images of him in front of the Lincoln Memorial. And for all of those images, which I think capture the times of triumph, we must also remember that there were a lot of challenges that led to those triumphs. He was arrested almost 30 times, spent time in jail. There were threats, bombings, investigations by the FBI, and of course, ultimately, the tragic assassination when he was only 39 years old. So Martin Luther King paid a price for those triumphs, and we're all indebted to him for that. And that's why we celebrate this day. So today, you've just gone through a visualization exercise, but we have a speaker who is an expert in visualization. Spike Lee is an authority. He knows how to capture your attention, inform us all, inspire us, fuel progress. I am really nervous sharing this stage because I feel totally uncool. So I was thinking about my name. Why don't I have a name like Spike? You know? So maybe I could be Jagged Jameson or Crash Jameson. You know, it wouldn't change anything, so I'm not going to go there. But as you'll hear in his formal introduction, he's a graduate of Morehouse. And I'm sure we'll hear about this, but there is just an incredible connection to Dr. King through Morehouse. Morehouse probably shaped a lot of his leadership style, his network and contacts. The president at Morehouse is said to have introduced him to the concepts of Gandhi that informed a lot of his thinking. The church, Ebenezer Baptist Church, is completely intertwined with Morehouse University, and of course that's where he was a co-pastor, so we'll look forward to hearing more about that. But after Morehouse, Spike Lee continued his training at NYU, and now he's a tenured faculty member in the Tisch School of the Arts at NYU. But in addition to all of those accomplishments and the Academy Awards, Spike Lee is a legendary Knicks fan. So we've had a little back and forth about that, and we'll find out more on Saturday night when the 76ers get together with them. So I also want to acknowledge our other speaker, Heather Williams, who's going to join Spike Lee. She's going to be interviewing him. Heather's the Geraldine R. Siegel Professor of American Social Thought, Professor of Africana Studies, and Chair of the Department of Africana Studies. So thank you for joining us, Professor Williams. She served with me on the Provost Consultative Committee that led to the appointment of John Jackson and just did a spectacular job on that consultative group. I'm also grateful to everyone who organizes this symposium and all of our other MLK symposium events. You all exemplify Penn's commitment to community and fulfilling our missions of the highest standards of excellence. And now I'm pleased to bring back Wale Adebamwe, who's the Presidential Penn Compact Professor of Africana Studies and Director of Penn's Center for Africana Studies. Wale, welcome back to the stage.
Thank you, President Jameson. It's now my honor to introduce honoree today and my colleague, the moderator. Our moderator and discussant for this evening's lecture is my colleague, Professor Heather Williams. Dr. Williams is the Geraldine R. Segal Professor of American Social Thought and Professor and Chair of Africana Studies Department in this university. She's the author of Self-Taught, African American Education in Slavery and Freedom, Help Me Find My People, The African American Search for Family Lost in Slavery, and American Slavery, A Very Short Introduction. She's currently at work on 2 projects, a documentary film about Jamaicans who migrated to the United States in the 1950s and 60s, and a book about violence in the antebellum South. Professor Williams will be in conversation with our honoree, Spike Lee. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce our honoree tonight, Spike Lee. For more than 4 decades, Spike Lee has used film as a form of social critique, forcing audiences to confront racism, inequality, police violence, historical amnesia, and the consequences of failing to speak up. Indeed, he is a giant in the landscape of American culture and a transformative figure in US history. In the 130 years of cinema history, Spike Lee has emerged as one of the most daring filmmakers in this era. Throughout his life and career, he has not offered easy answers nor sought approval. Indeed, he insists on being unapologetically honest. Like Dr. King, Spike Lee understands that justice is not passive, and that art, when rooted in truth, can be a vehicle for change. We see this in his body of work, whether it's a feature film such as Jungle Fever, Malcolm X, Black Klansman, or documentaries such as 4 Little Girls, When the Levees Broke, or in God is Willing and The Creek Don't Rise. Tonight, as we present the MLK Social Justice Award to him, we honor not only a filmmaker, but a public intellectual and cultural critic whose work continues to challenge, unsettle, and inspire us to see the world as it is and to imagine what it might yet become. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our 2026 Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Awardee and the one and only Spike Lee.
Hello, hello, hello. We're not going to talk about sports.
No more sports
Tonight.
No more sports.
I want to first of all, thank President Jameson for his kind words, and I'm here, and we're here tonight, and he mentioned Dr. King. My father was a freshman. Dr. Martin Luther King was a senior. And my man right here, John Wilson, stand up, John. John and I are in the class of 1979, and he's a former president of Morehouse, and one of the biggest things, I forgot what year it was, but he says, Spike, you want to go to Martha's Vineyard? I said, where's Martha's Vineyard? I never heard of Martha's Vineyard. My skinny, rusty butt barely went out of Brooklyn, so Martha's Vineyard. So he invited me to Martha's Vineyard. His grandmother, I don't know how many years she had a house there, and went 4th of July weekend. And after I spent time there, I got on my knees. I said, Lord, if I ever make any money, I'm getting a house in Martha's Vineyard. And the Lord answered. So, John, I always thank you for that, because I said, Martha's Vineyard. I was like, where what? Let's go. Oh, that's my mother, or you want to do it? You do it? All right, go ahead.
Okay.
I got to loosen the crowd up, you know?
Can you hear me? Okay. What? My mic is supposed to be on.
Yeah, can we get another handheld out here, please? Brother man, thank you.
Hello.
There you go.
Well, good evening, everybody. I want to say to you that Spike and I have known each other for a very long time.
Hold on.
And
You
when
know
I-
You spell it.
What?
I spell it D-A-Y-U-M. Damn.
And when I heard that he was coming, I was in the hallway with Carol Davis and Kelly Harris, and I mentioned that I knew you, and Wale and Kelly dragged me into the office and twisted my arm, so here we are. But the way I got to know him, I'll tell you a little bit about that. I know this is about Spike, but this is about Spike. I went to at the time, it was a very small school in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn Heights.
Brooklyn Heights, St. Anne's School. And when I got there, the school was 4 years old. And it's a very untraditional place. And it was the 70s. It was it was 70 when I got to high school. And we wanted Black studies. There were very few Black students at the school, and several of us, and this one white woman, Deb Howard, who had actually gone to elementary school with Spike. And she was part of this group. And so we went to the headmaster, Stanley Bosworth, and we said, we want Black studies. And so for a year, we met on the floor in Stanley's office, and we talked about whatever was on our minds. And then we kept saying, but we want Black studies. Well, the school had one Black teacher, and Stanley went and pulled her out of her third grade class for 1 hour a week, well, four periods for the week to teach us. And that person was Jacqueline Lee. So Mrs. Lee, Spike's mother, became our teacher. And I will tell you,
A Spelman grad. And her mother went to Spelman too, my grandmother.
that's right. She was, when I think about Mrs. Lee, she was small. That's my memory of her. She was small. She had long kind of braids. She had braids with beads or maybe cowrie shells
Both.
on them, right?
Both.
Yeah. And
Can I just jump in? If you've ever seen Crooklyn, Alfie Woodard played my mother,
yeah.
and my brother, Delroy Lindo, played my father. Autobiographical.
So Mrs. Lee had these braids with these shells and beads, and she smelled like
Dashikis.
she smelled like incense or oils. I always remember that. And so she came out to teach us, and she taught us in class. She showed us films. We read, but she took us outside of school at night. And when I think about it now, I'm thinking St. Anne's must have paid for these tickets, because she took us to see Alvin Ailey. She took us to a Broadway play. I have a good memory, but I can't remember all the details. She took us to see a Black exploitation movie, because she wanted us to know what was out there and how Black people were being depicted. I remember she took us to see Nikki Giovanni, to a poetry reading, and she knew Nikki Giovanni, and so
Wait a minute.
What?
My mother knew Nikki Giovanni?
Yeah. And afterwards,
Damn.
afterwards, we went up and they were talking, and I loved my mother, but I was also very flattered that Nikki Giovanni thought I was Mrs. Lee's daughter. I had read a lot. I read almost all the books in the Black section of the library at St. Anne's. But she opened up this other world of Black culture. I remember her saying one time, and I can't remember what the context was, but I remember her saying, hard head makes a soft behind. And that was
I can attest.
that was the first time I'd ever heard that expression, because I came from a different culture where it did, but they didn't say that. And so Spike, she was just wonderful. She really was. And she wrote a recommendation for me for college. And then when I got into Harvard, she told me to look up Kwame Olatunji, who was going to be a freshman there
Son of
because.
the famous Nigerian drummer.
Right, Babatunde.
Babatunde.
Yep.
Me and
Olatunji.
Kwame grew up together.
Yeah. And so she knew his parents, and so she connected us. You later connected me with John when we were both in grad school there. And so she was just great, and she opened up a world for me. And so I wanted to ask you, and remember what I said, you can't talk for 50 minutes about any one of these things.
See the clock in front of me.
Remember I told
36 minutes and 23,
remember what I
22,
told you.
21, 19 seconds.
But
And I gotta watch.
It's a big question, but I want to know, she was my teacher, and I remember her fondly as my teacher. By the way, the piece I didn't say is that Spike's younger siblings went to St. Anne's. So Joy, David, Sankey were at St. Anne's. You were not there, and she told
Public
me why
school.
you weren't there. But I'm not going to say it. You have to say it. But
Why did I go to St. Anne's?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to go to St. Anne's.
why?
My mother was teaching there.
Oh, that's not what she said.
Is it Pope Catholic? Come on, I'm not going to go to school with my mother.
We'll talk about
Teachers.
the Pope later. But she said, well, I won't say what she said, but so I knew her in that capacity, and I want to ask you to talk about what messages you got from her.
Okay.
And of course, your father.
I got it.
Your father was an
clock is
artist.
ticking.
Wait, no.
Oh,
but
I know.
here's-
I got it.
but
I
listen.
got it. My freshman year at Morehouse, I was lonely because I grew up in Brooklyn. We'd go down south, in the summer, but so it's getting no play at Spelman. You go on the street and like these country Negroes. I was like, I'm right. Anyway, so I would write a letter back to my mother, telling her how I was going to Morehouse. And my mother would send the letter back to me that I had written, and it looked like she had slit her wrist. There was nothing but red ink, and she would tell people, I can't believe that my son Spike Lee is a semi-literate and goes to Morehouse.
One thing that I didn't say is that Spike and I finally met. Oh, sorry. It was at his mother's funeral. So you were a freshman, and I was a sophomore, because I'm older than you. And it was that day. So when I was thinking about talking to you, because we already established I teach, we teach, I was thinking a lot about students, and you just met a student, Annalise, who's interested in filmmaking. And so,
So you heard our conversation?
well, she was sitting right beside me. I heard some of it. But I thought I'm going to frame our conversation to some degree around our experiences, our I don't want to say relationship because that has such, But so this question, I had students in mind. I'm thinking about struggle and growth and perseverance. And I remember it was in the 80s, and you invited me to come to see a screening, shall we say, of a movie that you had made. and
What movie was it?
Joe's Bed-Stuy Barbershop. We're going way back, right?
Way
And
back.
the screening was in a small classroom at NYU. I was there, you were there, Deb Howard was there, and 2 black women I didn't know. I guess they were friends of yours, and that was it. And we watched that movie together. And then I want to contrast that with the fact that the announcement for this event went out on a Friday, I believe, and by Monday, 900 tickets had been taken. And so I'm asking you to reflect on that journey and asking you really, do you look back to those beginnings? I think that may have been, was that your thesis film?
My NYU graduate thesis.
Yeah, and so that was at the beginnings of your career.
Which won the Student Academy Award.
And was shown at some major film festival, right? I think was
Nah, that was really
something.
more, she's gonna have it. But here's the thing though, is that at that time at NYU, they would kick out half the class. It was a 3-year program. At the end of the first year, they would kick out half the class. And my first film was called The Answer. It was my first year there, and it's about a young black writer-director is hired by the studio to do a remake of Deborah Griffin's Birth of a Nation. That film was screened in the school by teachers, but they talked about the brilliance of the director, Deborah Griffin, but never talked about how the Klan was dormant. And this film brought the Klan back to life, and consequently, black people were lynched. Woodrow Wilson, at the time the President of the United States of America, had the film screened in the White House, and he said it's like writing History of Lightning. So I did this as a response to that film. And I was a TA. I worked in the equipment room. I checked out equipment to the great Jim Jarmusch, who was a couple of years ahead of me. And I worked hard. So they made the mistake of granting me a TA-ship for next year, before the evaluations. So when they had the evaluations, I was gone. And then one of the teachers said, we can't kick him out. We made him a TA for next year. So from the very beginning, there's been very, very, things that happen and go this way or that way. So, I've been blessed, and, I say my prayers, because I didn't have to be on the stage,
So I want to come back to that, but I have a related question about funding. And again, I remember mid-'80s, you called me and you said, I'm making a movie and I need money. And I was a young lawyer at the time. I didn't have any money, but I sent you, I think it was $100. Do you remember which movie that was? That was She's Gotta Have It.
Had to be, might have been Joe's Bed-Stuy Barbershop. But look, hold on.
No.
Thank you for the $100. That might have, 100 back then is 1,000. So thank you.
It was all I had.
Because you didn't have to do it.
But it was She's Gotta Have It. And so, again, thinking about students who are aspiring filmmakers or really artists, people who are trying to make it in the arts. And I'm just wondering what you have to say to them about, again, I want to go back to perseverance, because I know it wasn't always easy or wasn't easy, but about how do you start? Can students, can young people today use the bootstrap method, maybe we could call what you did, right?
Yes.
Is there still space in the world, still
Yes.
space in America?
Yes.
Talk to the students, please.
Well, there's no such thing as crowdfunding, when I was doing what I'm doing. And you know, what I'm saying now, I say to my students, you know, Thursday, my first day of class in the spring semester. And you just got to have do or die mentality. And it's got to have a belief in yourself. And also, here's another thing, is that also for the students who are in the audience, I didn't do this alone. I had a gang. I had my people, my folks, and Ernest Dickerson. Ernest, we came in freshman year in YU. He went to Howard. I went to Morehouse, so right away it was like, yo, let's go. Ernest shot all my folks in YU, and She's Gonna Have It, School Days, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Malcolm X. Ernest shot that. Now he's one of the best directors, you know, in television. But he came in as a cinematographer because that was his skill, but he knew that he would be able to move on to direct. So you got to find your people. You can't do it alone, you know, and everybody one for one, all for one, one for all, you know, and let's be like a gang, because to do it alone, that just makes it extra hard in a hard industry to break into.
Mm-hmm. You've got to find your people. I like that.
Got to.
Okay, so you called me once from Jamaica.
I was in Jamaica.
You were in Jamaica. I was in Brooklyn. It was
Where was it on vacation?
It was Christmas Day. You were in Jamaica on vacation in Trelawney. It's a long time ago, and we already established my memory's better.
I was.
What? What you said?
What year was this?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
It would have been maybe early 90s. You were in Trelawney. You've been to Jamaica.
I know
been
that.
To Dunn's River Falls. Anyway, you called me.
Was it Montego Bay?
No, you said you were in Trelawney because
Where?
Trelawney, which is the parish in which I was born, which is why I
But
remember.
what's it? Is it a city?
Trelawney, it's a parish.
I never heard of that.
It's a parish.
Anyway.
Albertown. It's the next parish over from where Montego Bay is. So it would be an hour's drive maybe. Anyway, trust me, you did. And so I was just back in Jamaica over Christmas, and I know you heard about Hurricane Melissa. And there are certain parts of the island that have just been devastated. And I was watching when the levees broke. And your opening scenes, but then later on in the film as well, you have just rubble, boards that used to be houses, just piled up. And that's what it's like in Westmoreland. These are parishes, Westmoreland and parts of St. Elizabeth. And you just see the destruction, the devastation. And so I wanted you to talk about what you learned, or what you think about global warming, big questions, global warming, but also environmental justice, and thinking about, because you did When the Levees Broke, and then you did something else about that, and then you just recently did.
If God is willing, the creek don't rise.
Yeah, and then didn't you do something for the 20th anniversary? So Hurricane Katrina was 2005, Hurricane Melissa was 2025. And just talk about what you took away from New Orleans and from Louisiana, and in parts of the film you're talking about Mississippi, places that got left out of coverage, more or less.
Very simple answer. I got folks, peoples, New Orleans, Branford Marsalis, Wynton Marsalis, Terrence Blanchard, who did a lot of my scores. So those are my people, and their parents lost their houses. So as soon as we got the word that we go in and shoot, I wanted to document. And also that wasn't the first documentary I did was 4 little girls.
I want to talk about that
the bombing
as
of the
well.
Sixth Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. So, for me, I don't really make a distinction between narrative films and documentaries. For me, it's storytelling. It's storytelling. Man, and to talk, one of the things I always think about, 4 Little Girls had a great, great researcher. Her name is Judy, and while we were in post-production, she found the post-mortem photographs of those 4 beautiful young black girls who weren't allowed to grow up to be adults. And for a month, I was going back and forth whether I should include these photographs with those sticks of dynamite did these beautiful young black girls who weren't given a chance to grow. And I decided, I mean, I was tossing and turning, but I decided that I'm going to show those doing very, very, very quick. And all the time I'm deciding, I'm thinking about what the parents who were still alive would say. And I prayed on it and prayed on it. And we just worked with my great editor, Barry Brown. We cut the shots as short as possible. And Chris McNair, who's a photographer, you know, we spoke about it, and we understood why I had to do. But that's the hardest decision I ever had to make. And those, that's the best work I've ever done for me, just my opinion. I don't care if I'm not talking about doing the right thing or Malcolm X, but that's the one for me, 4 Little Girls. Yeah. And just the hate, blow up a church.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, though. J. Edgar Hoover, head of cross-dressing, J. Edgar Hoover, I said it. They knew that week who did it. The mother's name was Dynamite Bob. His nickname was Dynamite Bob, and that was not the first black house he blew up. They knew that week. It was 1963. So once the film was done, many years later, we wanted to apply, to be eligible for an Academy Award, to be nominated for Best Documentary. And to do that, when you're independent film, you have to documentary has to have a theatrical run from 1 week. So it was going to be in the Cinema Village, and right before the week-long theatrical run, I got a call from the FBI. I'm kind of like, what did I do? Because I didn't even know how they got my number, but. I was in the phone book. Anyway, they said they wanted a print. Gave them the print. And the next week, they reopened the case. From 1963, it had been dormant. So, all right.
Okay, so I haven't seen all your films, but I have to agree with you that 4 Little Girls is just the best work that I've seen. And I was thinking, I was thinking that everybody in this room needs to see that film now. Even if you've
HBO,
seen,
you get it.
even if you've seen it already. Yeah, you can buy it or rent it. But I was thinking everybody should see it. Everybody in the country should see it right now because it has such resonance for when we think about what's happening in Minnesota. You know, they haven't brought out the fire hoses, but they've brought out tear gas. You do a phenomenal job in that film of
Thank you.
first bringing us into the homes of those families so that I knew the names of those girls and I knew something about the personalities of those girls, and then you pull out and you tell us more about the broader movement in Birmingham. I had not realized, and remember, I do slavery, I do another century, but I thought about the children's movement as SNCC. I hadn't realized that Birmingham was kind of pioneering that.
That was Dr. King.
Yeah, I had not.
SNCC. I mean,
Yeah,
that was,
I mean, SNCC does it later,
Yeah.
but so I learned a lot from it, and I did think about there's certain things. There are a few things I want to mention. Showing the photographs, the postmortem photographs, I knew that had to have been a tough decision.
yeah, I said, it took me weeks. I was yes or no. Yes, I was tossing and turning. But to jump in right here, we did get nominated for Best Documentary, and I flew out the parents to LA. And once when the nominations come out, they list all the other films. And when I saw one of the films, the producer was a rabbi, I let the parents know. True story. But they were like, because we had a reception afterwards. It was planned. We knew we weren't going to win. We had a reception. They flew them out to LA, and at that time, Denzel owned a restaurant. So the parents, they're like, look, we don't care on the Oscar. We just want to meet Denzel. And the mothers got a kiss from Denzel. They won the Academy Award. And another thing I'd like to say, someone who does not get the credit, Reverend Shuttlesworth. There's a scene in the documentary where a white Raging mob is beating the you know what out of him. And also, for Christmas, something like that, they blew his house up. The courage, when I saw that, I said, all right, I'm going to do a movie one day. And I'm using the word Shuttlesworth. And that was He Got Game with Denzel and Ray Allen. Jake and Jesus Shuttlesworth.
There were some other difficult things you did, like you have some very tight shots when you're talking to the family members, especially the sisters who were, of course, around the same age as the children. And you stay on them as their words are failing them and they're about to cry. And this is done years after, you know, and one of them says, it just comes back. You know, you try to forget it, but it just comes back. And so I thought that was really powerful.
And then you have, if I may interject, you have Christine McNair, the mother of Denise, and she talks about how she had to identify her daughter's body, you know, and we got to think about the generations. John, you know what I'm talking about, my brother. And we've always talked about the generations before who were catching holy hell 7 days a week, 24/7, and were fearless. Marching, demonstration, boycott in Montgomery with Rosa Parks. Our elders, generation before, they put their lives on the line you know, so we could do whatever we're doing now. But we gotta, all of us, I remember even including myself, think about the people, you know, you might not know their names, but do you think it's possible that we could ever boycott the bus, the subway, or anything? We're unified.
Yeah.
Where in Montgomery, for a year, we had our own carpools. Everybody got to work. We weren't just getting that motherfucking bus. And eventually, they had to fold because they were losing money. And we underestimate the black dollar. Come on now. The black dollar. You start messing with their money, you know, they look at you differently. So we can learn from our history. I had to catch myself. My wife said, Spike, you keep saying history. All right. I don't say it no more. I say both. Ladies first. History. We gotta, you know, we have to go back to Sojourner Truth. You know, we talk about today.
But one of the things that I think, why I think this film is so great, I mean, there are many things, but one of the things is that you also include a couple of people who say, well, first of all, you show the strategy of people allowing their children, or the children are leading, but they don't stop them because they couldn't sacrifice their jobs. And then you have
Children led the movement.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have one woman who says, I didn't march, right? And so I think that's really...
She was embarrassed.
Yeah. She said, but I benefited from it, and she's regretful that she didn't march. But I think that's an important part of the story, that not everybody was heroic in any moment, that there are people who were afraid, or there were people who thought, oh, you're doing too much.
Lose your job.
Right. And so I think those kinds of subtleties in the film are really important. The other thing, there are a couple of things in When the Levees Broke and in this film where you leave something unspoken. And so, for instance, you have the lawyer who defended Chambliss, the bomber, who says, you know, I went to Princeton, and when I was at Princeton, I had to say Alabama's not so bad, Birmingham's not so bad. And then he ends up defending Chambliss. But when you show him, you don't talk to him about, you don't say, how could you have defended? This is what I got out of it.
He was hanging himself. I didn't have to help him.
Right, you don't say, how could you have done it? What stood out to me was that he takes you into the courtroom and he says, this person sat here and that person sat there and that person sat there, and that's the end of it. You don't pursue it anymore. But I remember that he's that person, and I think there was a statement implied in that you did not pursue that.
Yeah, I mean, to talk about a scene, when I was interviewing Governor George Wallace, and he had a black aide.
His best friend.
His best friend. That's what George Wallace said, his best friend. And this brother, he was mad at me. He did not want to be in the shot.
It was so obvious.
He did not, it's hilarious. At the very end, he runs off, but 3 or 4 times, George Wallace would say, whatever the guy's name, Jimmy, that's my best friend. Jimmy is just my best friend. It was funny but pathetic. And to defend what he did standing in the hallway at University of Alabama, and he said, well, I gave black kids school books. School books. That's what I gave them, school books. It is, it's pathetic. But at the same time, it's like how the mighty fall. You know, and he was like, I really believe that when people do evil and they're about to see it comes to an end, they find Jesus, or whatever you want to say, but it's like too late,
Start
motherfucker.
trying to get into heaven, they say.
Too late. Too late, you know. You're not getting off the hook, you know. And history, we know what Governor George Wallace did in the state of Alabama.
Okay, I have one more question. You met with the Pope in November.
He went to Villanova, and the New York Knicks have 3 players from Villanova: Jalen Brunson,
So I have,
Mikal Bridges.
we're not talking
Remember?
sports. When,
You brought up Villanova.
no, I did not. I brought
Where did the
up
Pope go?
Pope Leo.
Where?
Look,
Anyway.
we only have
Anyway.
we only have 2 minutes.
Later for the clock.
So listen,
So, I get this email from Vatican City saying Pope Leo wishes your attendance at a conference on cinema. I thought it was fake, fugazi, bogus. Then I thought it was the 3 S's: skullduggery, subterfuge. But it wasn't. So I'm going to meet the Pope. He went to Villanova. So I had jerseys made. You might have seen the picture. Orange and blue. Number 14, I said Pope Leo. He's the 14th Pope named Leo. So not 14, the late great Anthony Mason, Pope Leo. And so it's documented. And it was working until we lost the last 8 out of 10 games. But that was a great, and he talked about cinema, and it was a great speech about the power of art, cinema, how it can be used for good.
right. So I wanted to quote from him.
The Pope?
Yeah.
Pope Leo?
Yeah.
He went to Villanova?
I had 3 quotes, but
Another thing.
I'm just going to give you one.
Hold on. You know,
Lord
the
have
Pope,
mercy.
coming up, if you watch Skip Gates' show, the Pope is black.
Yeah,
His
we know.
brother. His other brother in Chicago says no, but he ain't a Pope. Pope Leo admits he is black. It started in Haiti, then in New Orleans, then in Chicago, where the, or like that. Which one is it? No. Like that. All right, go ahead. He's black, the Pope.
All right, let the Pope
Went to
speak.
Villanova.
Let the black Pope speak.
Come on, where's Villanova? And you act like Villanova's in Nebraska. What are we doing here? Oh, because it's Penn, you can't give Villanova love? Because they kick your ass in basketball? Or what is this? Let me give you, all right, the Pope's Italian. Let me give you an Italian gesture. I'm sitting back. Go ahead.
Time's
The
up,
clock
but
says 0, 0, 0.
it does, and it doesn't change from
And
that.
this might be overtime.
So here's one quote from his speech. Good cinema does not exploit pain. It recognizes and explores it. This is what all the great directors have done. Giving voice to the complex, contradictory, and sometimes dark feelings that dwell in the human heart is an act of love. Art must not shy away from the mystery of frailty. It must engage with it and know how to remain before it. Without being didactic, authentically artistic forms of cinema possess the capacity to educate the audience's gaze. And I had a question for you, but what's the point?
It's overtime. Go ahead.
My question was, when you look across the arc of your work, how would you describe the contributions that you've made to Black people and to the world?
And that's for other people to decide. You know, I'm just doing my thing. THANG, thang, doing my thing. You know, that's it. And also knowing that, you know, not everybody's gonna love your film. They don't like me in Chicago. They be bringing up Chirac left and right. You know, they're like, But I've been. That was the last 2 Bear games, the Soldiers Field. So they like me now, but before that, you know, like bring up Chirac, they're like, they didn't like that.
Okay.
And also, do the right thing. I mean, you know, Mookie threw the garbage can through the window, you know, that. The world premiere was in Cannes. And we didn't come out till like June 30th here in the United States of America. And there was, you know, some bullshit that Black folks would riot all across America. And we'll write an article like, "Dear white people, hope this theater is open in your neighborhood," you know. And that do the right thing, but the reason why David Dinkle's not become the first Black mayor. I mean, it was like a whole bunch of stuff. Really, history has proved, you know, they were wrong.
Okay. All right, well, I should stop. They added 10 minutes.
All right, 10 minutes.
Oh, Lord.
All right, let's get the clock back to 10 minutes so we have the official time. Who's operating the clock?
Can I ask you a question, or are you just going to talk?
Yeah. No, well. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question about AI, and it's something...
AI?
AI, or A1. It's something that we're grappling with on this campus and on campuses across the country. How are you using it?
I think it's dangerous.
Okay.
Because you don't know what you're looking at, whether it's real or fugazi. And people can manipulate it to do what they want. And people can manipulate it to what they want to, whatever their goal is.
And so you're not using it as an assistant in your filmmaking in any way?
Hell no. Well, that's not to say there's I have special effects, but, you know, I'm not trying to do the flim-flam.
Okay.
Well, it's 9 more minutes, we go.
All right. What more you want to say? No sports. I'm serious. No sports. I have a question about celebrity, the phenomenon of celebrity. And I can only speak for what's happening in this country or Jamaica, or, you know, it's more than just here. And I wonder, so you are a celebrity. You benefit from the phenomenon of celebrity. But I wonder if you're ever able to pull back and critique it. And I'll say this, and I hope
Yes, I've been married 32 years.
I hope it's not offensive to you or to the audience, but as I was watching 4 Little Girls, I thought, again, everybody should see this. And I thought, you know, if the Africana Studies Center said, we're going to show 4 Little Girls, 30 people
Here?
would show up.
Oh.
Yeah, if we said that. I am predicting.
It'd be more than that.
No, I think 30 people would show up. But if we said...
Wait, can I just say something real quick?
Wait, if we said...
Hold on. You know what? If it's the right 30 people...
No, that's true.
If it's the right 30 people, you don't need everybody.
But here's my point. And we do things, and we get 10 people or 30 people, and we're happy for them, and yes. But if we said we're going to show 4 Little Girls, and Director Spike Lee will be here, we would have a massive crowd. So do you see my point?
When we doing it?
But do you see my point?
When are we doing it?
I'll schedule tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
No. We're going to do it.
I'm going to be at the Garden tomorrow night.
We'll do it.
They need me because we lost like last 10.
No, seriously.
Not tomorrow night.
We'll pick a date because I think this campus needs to see it. This community needs to see it. But and he'll come.
I will
he'll do
give
it.
you give me some dates.
Okay.
And I don't want to be paid or nothing.
Okay.
You give me some dates. Oh, what? Oh, Black History Month coming up.
Okay. All right, February.
Shortest month of the year.
We'll do it in February. And
Okie doke.
And I'll tell you, Spike is good for his word. When I was at UNC, I was in the history department. One day my phone rang, and Spike said, "Heather, you're a Tar Heel now," loudly. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You should invite me to your class. And you should make the students watch Malcolm X." Well, I teach slavery. I teach up to the end of the Civil War. How am I going to fit Malcolm X? And so I told and he said, "Don't tell anybody. I'm coming." And he paid his way. But I couldn't tell.
Greyhound bus.
I didn't tell the students. But the night before he came, I bribed them with pizza. I said, "Trust me. You will see how this connects to our course." And Spike came, and it was funny. I was telling you earlier, we went to this restaurant on Franklin Street for breakfast. And when we finished, he got up and he had his cap pulled down. And he said, "I'm trying to be incognito." And there was a white woman in the booth behind us, and she said, "We know who you are." But he came to my class, and my students were flabbergasted. And
They didn't know, right? It was,
No, they didn't know.
Sneak attack.
But we got into a debate, an argument about sports. And
Tell them what it is.
what it was,
I forgot.
it
What
was,
happened?
he said he thought that college athletes should be paid. And I said, "No, they're students. I don't want them paid. I want them coming as
I
serious
predicted it.
students." And so he's very happy that he predicted that this would happen. But the students were kind of watching because we're just arguing. But I want to get back. So Spike is coming in February. We will schedule it. And he really will come. But I want to
Where we gonna
get
show
back
it,
to
here?
the,
Where are we going to show it?
we have to figure it out.
It can't be a classroom.
No. It's going to be
Just
a big
checking.
space. No,
Where?
it's got to be a big space. Anyway, we'll figure it out. We have 5 minutes for real now. But I want to get back to the question of celebrity, Spike, and what it means that people will show up because you're a star, you are great at what you do, and you're well known. Is that good? Is that a problem? Are we too invested in celebrity as a culture?
I have several answers for you.
Okay.
Is James Brown? Is Al Green? Is Barry White? Is Prince purple? Is the Pope Catholic? Is Stevie Wonder?
Is Stevie Wonder?
Is Stevie Wonder? Marvin's not gay. I could be here all night.
Okay.
Set me up. That was a big, fat, juicy one. I just knocked out the park, you know. The Junkie Stadium in the Bronx.
Junkies. Okay, so our next big event will be, you'll have to tell us how we even get rights and all that to screen it. You gonna bring it?
DVD.
Okay.
Yeah, just make sure you have a DVD. You don't need a print for that. Just
Okay. The library has the DVD. We just have to find the player. Okay, so we are done.
Done.
I want to thank you, Spike.
Oh, we gotta put this down.
I'm going to exit stage right.
Yeah. What a great conversation. What a great evening. Please, can we give a round of applause again to Dr. Williams and yes. It is now my honor and pleasure to present Spike Lee with our 2026 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Award. Mr. Lee has exemplified, please sit down, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Lee has exemplified the spirit of social justice throughout his remarkable body of work, never failing to be provocative, courageous, and unafraid to speak truth to power. His art has been a powerful instrument in the historic freedom struggle, challenging audiences to confront injustice not as abstraction, but as lived reality. There is a story often told about Dr. King and the legendary performer Etta King. At the height of the civil rights movement, Keith once expressed doubt about whether her work as an artist truly mattered in the struggle for justice. Dr. King gently but firmly told her that what she was doing mattered deeply and that art had the power to move hearts, shift consciousness, and prepare people to hear truths they might otherwise resist. He reminded her that not everyone marches, not everyone organizes, and not everyone stands at a podium, but everyone has a role to play in bending the moral arc towards justice. Spike Lee embodies that lesson. Through film, storytelling, and uncompromising honesty, he has enlarged our moral imagination and forced this nation to reckon with itself. Like Dr. King, he understands that justice is not advanced only through laws and speeches, but also through images, narratives, and the courage to tell uncomfortable truths in public. Even in confronting the ugliness of human fatalities through his work, he has ensured that his art sings the beauty of human possibilities. Tonight, we honor not only a filmmaker, but a moral witness, an artist whose work has helped shape public consciousness and whose voice continues to insist that America confronts its past, reckon with its present, and imagine a more just future. It is therefore my great honor to present the 2026 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Social Justice Award to Spike Lee. Thank you, everyone.